Okay, round 7, let's go. That's Mulligan. We're playing Yuta Takahashi. Dazai. Also leans towards control decks as far as I know. His Twitter handle is Vendillion. And he plays like Miracles in Legacy, for example, but I have no idea what he's playing in Pauper. This looks like a keep, though it's not particularly good against the controlling matchup. Windscard Crack. Huh. I think I'll actually bottom it, even though my third land is something I'm looking for. I need like a cycling artifact for my core Skyfisher. I would prefer a bounce land over a Windscard Crack, because I already have all my colors. And it would allow me to get to 4. Yeah, Delver would make sense. I mean, it's not the most controlling deck. I would, like, from a player profile perspective, I would put him on blue-black something. But Delver is just so good that I would expect any pro to play Delver or my deck. Well, that's a much more useful turn 1 than Windscard Crack. Gives me something to bounce on turn 2 with this guy for sure. Turn 1 Mox Monkey, yeah, that would close out the game right away. Okay, so it looks like it is blue-red Delver. Definitely another grind fast matchup. Pretty skill intensive, pretty close. They missed on their Augur, which I always like to see. Have to watch my time a lot here as well, but I'll preemptively start playing a little bit faster. Yeah, I think I'm slightly advantaged here, especially if opponent is not that familiar with the matchup yet. Maybe they're new to Pauper, because I haven't seen him play Pauper before, even though it's a very skilled player overall. Maybe he doesn't have as much practice. But yeah. No double blue available here, but they scrap my blocker. Okay, that's very nice. That is very nice. I mean, I might be under so much pressure that I don't get to cash in these clues anytime soon. But yeah, it's probably still correct to bounce this, even though it's vulnerable to spell status Sprite on the way back down. Yep, that's usually what it is. Look at the bottom 3. Yeah, their deck is so creature heavy that the Augur, without setup, without preordained Ponder Brainstorm preparation, does end up being pretty underwhelming a lot of the time. Well, this is still very annoying. Like, getting snowballed on the board is not where you want to be. Better Screech is great for me, but I assume I have to crack my clue for a 4th land here. Now I would want the Windscard Crack that I scried to the bottom, but this Raven Inspector already did like a good job earning its keep. I think I'll pass and keep Bolt open. It's super bad for me if they have Spell Stutter Sprite, but at least I have some chance of beating Ninja of the Deep Hours without Spell Stutter. Yeah. Yeah, Seagate is too expensive on this deck for sure. For my opponent's deck. They are still a tempo deck. Yeah, I can let them Ninja now, and then I'll fight over something at end of turn, I guess. Though Spell Stutter here still pretty annoying for me. Okay, that's nice. Maybe I should have just dealt with the flyers though. Like, I didn't want them to bounce this because it's more value, but maybe that was just wrong. I mean, these are pretty awful against Battle Screech. Okay. And I can never resolve my one mana spells through spells today regardless. I didn't want to bet a Screech into counterspell here. Thank you. Still fight over the creatures a little bit on their turn and get to crack my clue. But yeah, going to be difficult to stabilize the board here still. Okay. Not bad, not bad. Wait another turn. They are very disciplined about keeping this counter mana open every turn, and I pretty much have confirmed that they don't have a spell setter in their hand, but it's pretty much guaranteed that they have a counter spell in their hand. But yeah, if I'm under this little pressure, it allows me some breathing room to crack my clue still. Well, if they have second ninja, it's bad to bolt, but at least if they spend the mana on second ninja, I get to resolve Better Screech, so it should still work out fine for me as a bait. Because I then get to Prismatic Strands, prevent the damage. Yeah, even that's just super good for me. This feels like a misstep by my opponent. This is not how you want to approach things. Because now I have 5 flyers with Electricity backup. And this Fairy Miscreant ended up not even drawing a card, so... I mean, it sets up for future Fairy Miscreants, but itself it didn't guarantee a card. Yeah, now opponent is in a super tough spot. Though I guess this turn the ninja still has a very profitable attack into my birds. I mean, I can double block, but it's not that great of a double block for me. Or I can like chump block. Neither of them are that appealing. I guess block Prismatic Strands blue is reasonable, because it stops any ninja hit from happening, or like double block, but then they can... I guess just double block is valuable. And probably just let it happen. And if they bolt our strands, and they would have to have like counterspell for strands, and then they're still just 2 for 2ing me, or like 2.5 for whatever. I think I still come out ahead there, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, another ninja. That's still not that great against the Prismatic Strands in grave, right? They have to counterspell this also. Otherwise I prevent like the combat damage dealt to my birds and the combat damage dealt to my face, so they have to counterspell here. And then this double block is still good for me. Okay. Okay, that stops the double block, but I'm still keeping my bird and not taking any damage from ninjas. And ninjas on the board aren't that strong. Like the really strong part about the ninjas that they get the first hit in almost guaranteed. And if they fail to do that, then it's a disaster for the blue-red side. Feels safe enough to do this with 5 blockers available, especially because the Palace Sentinels on the board is a great blocker. Yeah, nice. That worked out very nicely. I was kind of worried around like turn 3, turn 4 about the way that the game was shaping up, but the Prismatic Strands Better Screech interaction just wrecked opponent pretty hard. And yeah, so aggressively fighting to get ninja hits in on their turn and then letting me Better Screech backfired pretty hard on opponent. It's not a howling mine, it's a personal howling mine. It's more like, I don't know, what is the new one called? The 4-mana artifact, where like you draw cards and you have to vote like, what is it, Carnage or Homage? I guess I don't own any of them, but yeah. This one, it's a coercive portal. So, what did I usually do? I wanted to cut like the numbers of Thraben Inspectors down a little bit, or entirely have like fewer or no prismatic strands, and then maybe take one of these out. And then I wanted to have like all the Pyroblasts for sure. Serrated Arrows is great and for this matchup, and then like something along these lines, though you end up with fewer bounce, flicker, like enablers for your core sky fishers. So, and also the third Palace Sentinels is like something interesting that can, yeah, it's actually like reasonable, because it like sometimes wins you games when your deck is all removal. You actually need some way to get ahead. Also the Krark Charm is like slightly interesting, though I think it's like barely not good enough. Yeah, I'm not certain how I would fit this last one into the deck. I could cut like the Bojuka Bog. Yeah, I think I even cut down a land last time I played this matchup, right? And now I have a slightly more over-the-top controlling plan that the 21 lands is still fine, but 22 lands you just end up flooding out a bunch. I think I cut from 21 to 20 down last time, with slightly fewer 4-drops in my deck. But yeah, Palace Sentinels is a double-edged sword. Like if they fly over with Spell Stutters and Fairy Miscreants and steal the Monarch from you, you just insta-lose. But if you're ever on a stable board and you get to resolve it, then it's pretty difficult for opponent to beat it. Yeah, the problem is like when you're a little bit ahead, they can still like Augur of Bolas and Gush and refuel with card advantage, and you don't really have that much card advantage going on. So you're just sitting on like 1-for-1 removal spells without getting ahead in any way. So I think some number of Palace Sentinels is still nice, but I'm not certain what number is correct. What are my outs here? Let's see. 54 cards. I have 22 lands left in, no, 21 lands left in my deck, but 3 of those are bounce lands, so I have 18 lands that I can play. And I have 2 outs to look for 1. So I'm like a 55% favorite to find a land for turn 1. And then I go land into Boros Garrison, and then have all the removal. Yeah, I think 55% is good enough that I have to keep this, but the 45% where I miss are going to look incredibly embarrassing, and I'm going to be discarding to hand size on turn 2, and like my first land drop is Boros Garrison, or like I'm not going to play a land, yeah. I mean, I was aware that this happens 45% of the time, but I think it's better than a random 5-card hand, because I do have very strong spells to go with it, and then it allows me to develop my mana up to 3. So yeah, happens. You still have to make the mathematically correct play, even if it ends up looking super dumb. Feels bad, man. I would keep this again, and then the times where I draw like untapped mountain or something, even like a Windscarred Crag, and I get to 3 mana on turn 3 and have all the spot removal in the world, then those times I look like super smart, and here I look super dumb, but still like a correct play is a correct play. I think I have one more turn where I can still try fighting on, but yeah. whatever, let's play it to the very end. Maybe we see some more sideboard cards from them to see how they board it or something. Yeah, it's entirely independent of what my match score is. I still have to maximize my chance of winning the single game, because maximizing your chance of winning the single game also maximizes your chance of winning the match. So my previous match score should have no influence on how I decide there. The only thing I have to value is what is my win percentage when I hit that land. I mean, it's not 100%, so my win percentage with the hand is already worse than. But if I'm, for example, my calculation would be, if I hit the land right away, which is 55%, I end up winning the game about 80% of the time with how strong my hand is, maybe a little less. So that gives me like somewhere in the 45% range to win the game. And then what is my expected win percentage with a 5-card hand? And I felt like my win percentage with this hand when I hit is higher than the average win rate of a 5-card hand. So I made what I thought was a decision that maximizes my average win rate with it, like with 6 cards against 5 cards, but it has a fail case that looks very stupid. Like the fail case where you have like a 5-card hand, you play some lands and then your spells are bad and you end up dying on turn 6 after not really keeping up with their opponent. It looks a little bit less stupid, but it still gives you like a lower hope of winning. My draw was like insane. Yeah, I mean, by this point I was super favored. I mean, I've definitely had better odds and still lost. It happens. Like if you play enough Magic, you'd lose your like 1%ers, where like by turn 10 you still don't have a third land in limited or something. It definitely happens. Like you can't really complain about that. If you saw how well I ran last week, even how well I ran today. In just the previous match, I drew like my 1 in 20 lightning bolt, where I might have timed out after not finding the lightning bolt. That's a 5%er, so you can't really get too attached to like complaining about the percentages either way. But yeah, I know that Magic viewers are very prone to results-oriented thinking, and like whenever a play looks bad because it went wrong, they assume that it's the incorrect play, and I don't think that was the case here. F8 has that functionality where whenever you can play, I mean, it doesn't pass through all of the phases, but it only gives you priority if you can actually play something. It's occasionally bugged, but at the moment I think it's working correctly. So if you F8 at any time during the match, I think it F8s for the rest of the game, and then it passes priority whenever you have nothing to do. So with a counter spell in hand and 2 mana open, it would only stop when your opponent puts the spell on the stack. And you still have to accept or not accept blocks and attacks. I think that always stops you. Even if you're F6, you still have to attack and block. But it does reduce the amount of times you get asked for like priority and doing something by a significant amount. I don't really use it because I'm used to not using it, but if you practice it with it a little bit, I think it they break F8. Yeah, as I said, I don't have a lot of experience using it myself, so there might be some corner cases where it doesn't help you that much, but I think it helps with time management quite a bit. You should try that out. Maybe take it for a spin in like a practice match and see in which case it works or doesn't work correctly. It's like a lot less useful in Legacy, for example, because not only do you always keep priority when you have like Force of Will in hand, but also your giving out a lot of information to your opponent. If like you f8 and you don't keep priority when you have days and or like if you don't have days enforceable in hand, you get priority to your opponent, and when you do, you hold on to it. So it's kind of like a leak box. You give your opponent way too much info for no reason, but in like Pauper it should be fine. I just f6 very aggressively, and most of my time problems come down to spending time explaining my plays. Yeah, exactly. It broadcasts days enforceable. So if you have free spells in your deck, you have to be very careful with that, not to give too much information away. Pauper Death Shadow. When they print Death Shadow at common, I might consider. Oh no, your deck. Yeah. I'll play it at some point. I can play it this week actually. I mean, it's not a Death Shadow deck, but I know what you're trying to say. I didn't read what name was asking the question. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I don't know. Let me know when in the week you're watching, and then I can pick that weekday. For now, we're trying to win this tournament, but it definitely is a deck I'm interested in playing. So, guess we figure out a day where you're actually watching, and then we can make that happen. Why do I not auto yield? I probably should. No, there's no reason I don't. I'm just used to like the old trigger rules where yielding to one permanent would only affect that permanent, but now I guess I can yield to the name Alchemist Vial and yield to the name Prophetic Prism, and there's not really a reason not to do it. It's just like loose by me to not do it. I guess I'm just thinking that I can F2 through it quickly enough for it to not make a difference, but it's probably slightly more optimal to yield to Alchemist Vial and Prophetic Prism at the start of the match, and then you're not losing any time to it later on. Okay, this is a reasonable way to develop the board, though I might get hit by a ninja here. But usually you just accept that you get hit by a ninja once and then fight over it once it's on the board. And they still bounce something for no real value if they go bolt into ninja. Okay. Cycling EOT. Yeah. The yield should be faster than doing it like multiple times during each game. Okay, now they might tap out for ninja, then they get the extra card out of it, but they don't have any board presence. That feels fine for me. Though missing my land drop would be awful. I guess I want to bold this so I don't run into days. I mean, from a tempo perspective, this is still pretty great for me. And especially because they have to spend some blue mana to get back onto the board, and that might help me resolve the arrows, but I still need to keep top decking lands here for a while so that I can get all of this out of my hand and not get stuck under counter magic. Preordain main phase I definitely like to see. Now they only have stutter open and not counterspell. So I guess I'll jam it now and hope they don't have annul, because spell stutter doesn't counter this, and then it should be a huge blowout. Yes. Great. I mean, they can get a ninja hit in by casting end of turn spell stutter, but that doesn't seem too dangerous to me. Sure. Because then I just untap and deal with the ninja, right? Sure, I think I'll decide on what to deal with during their turn. Probably just deal with the Fairy Miscreant, because the spell stutter is not only not that useful at the moment, but also more clunky to get back onto the board. Looks like Gush. Yeah, that I'm also fine with. These serrated arrows should just tear my opponent a new one, hopefully. Once they're resolved, they're incredibly powerful. Oh, that's a good one though. But I have the Journey to Nowhere already in hand, so unless they found an annul during their gush, it should be great for me. Yeah, because I can keep the fairy count at 1. If they play their second spell Stutter Sprite, then I kill one of them, and then they only have 1 fairy against my CMC2 spell. So most likely this just all-in ninja? No, okay. Yeah, this should be great for me. As I said, unless there's a null. But even against a null, I'm just fighting against it with Pyroblast. Nice. Very, very nice. Okay, Prism. Tech cards paying off. Nice one. Yeah, at least I'm super glad that I mean, it wasn't really embarrassing, but it's something that looks super dumb if you're making the mathematical play and end up on the wrong side of it. But I'm glad that game 2 didn't cost me the match, and we kind of destroyed him in both the game 1 and the game 3. Yeah, they don't